South FFL, are you ready for your weekly analysis? Yes. Yes. Yes.
And we are live, guys. Welcome back to the South FFL podcast with myself, Ryan, and Adam. Unfortunately, Alan and Justin couldn't make it today. Anyways, we're here. We're going to be giving you guys your week one analysis, as well as be giving some predictions for the week two matchups as well. So first and foremost, how are you guys doing, Adam and Ryan?
Doing
Doing
good.
great.
You go, Ryan.
Yeah, it's good to be back breaking down these teams. Me and Adam in sync today.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. The brother love.
Yeah.
So you want to go ahead and jump right into it, or you want to talk about like anything that popped out of your like?
We just get into stuff as we go through the matchups. I think that'd be a pretty good idea.
Yeah. Okay.
First on our list is mine and a boss's. So definitely have a lot of thoughts on that. Start off with my team. There was definitely something that jumped out probably at everybody. Was Cam Akers. Was pretty disappointed that he got 3 touches and was, clearing up the starter whenever I was watching on the game and Daryl Henderson was introduced in the starting lineup. I'll be honest, I was pretty shocked. Got made fun of a lot. Well deserved, I guess. Because there's definitely doubts about my running backs. I don't think we ever thought it would be seen that quickly, but clearly it was. Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson were amazing, so I'm very excited about that. I think that's a pretty good stack to have, and I don't know. I kind of got saved by Ehrman with it because I was gonna take Matt Stafford over Kirk Cousins, but Ehrman took him one pick before me, so I'm pretty thankful for that. Debo was, he put up a decent game. Definitely under projection, but it was a very rainy game, torrential downpour. I think Trey Lance, doesn't seem very good, and he may be in the system too early. And maybe should have given him a little more time. Just let Jimmy G handle things for now. But it is what it is, and they'll probably stick through with them. George Kittle's hurt, and Austin Hooper played. I'm not really too worried about that. Damian Pierce is a little underwhelming, but they said that he was going to get a lot more carries this week, so maybe that'll be good. George Kittle hurt, not really interesting. Amari Cooper, he has Jacoby Brissett thrown to him, so I'm not really worried about that. Zeke and Tony Pollard, losing Dak to the offense, I'm not really sure how that'll play out. Zeke actually played pretty. I know he's only scored 5.4 points, but on on an efficiency basis, he wasn't that bad. So I'm okay with that. They're playing the Bucks, tough team. And then Jamal Williams, I'm actually pretty excited about because I saw that DeAndre Swift is having ankle problems today. So that is just going to be good for my team. Obviously not good for DeAndre Swift. It kind of sucks whenever a player gets hurt, but for me it's just good. You guys got any thoughts on my team from this week, or you want to say?
I do.
Yeah.
Go for it. 3 words for your running back room, Adam. Trouble in paradise? ?
I'm figuring things out. Hopefully I can stay alive long enough until I do figure it out. Hopefully it doesn't get too bad.
Yeah. It's I don't know. Situation I'm glad I don't have to figure out.
Yeah, you got very lucky this week.
But no, aside from your running back room, which is a little rough, I think Justin Jefferson's going to be enough to win you a lot of weeks. I don't know if I'd bank on him getting 35 every single week, but high 20s, mid 20s is in the cards for probably every week.
He hit 30 in the first half.
Yeah, again, I don't know if I would bank on that every week, but mid-20s, high 20s is still exceptional, even low 20s. And so if you have a receiver getting that, then the quarterback throwing to him is obviously going to do well. And so I agree. I think Deebo Samuel has better days ahead. I think that alone will win you some games, but the running back room is certainly worrisome.
Yeah, there's only so much I can do right now. I'm just kind of waiting my patience and seeing what happens. Because there's never gonna be anything on the waivers at this point in time. I think there was Jeff Wilson, but Justin's team was so bad that he got priority over me.
Yeah, there was Rex Burkhead as well, who I was able to pick up without even a waiver claim.
In my personal opinion, Dameon Pierce will end up being over Rex Burkhead by the end of the season. That's just my personal opinion, so I didn't even feel like wasting a pick on him.
Yeah.
And I got Curtis Samuel, which I'm actually excited about Curtis Samuel because, he had like 11 targets last week. I think that's, pretty notable. They were playing the Jags, though, so, that's you don't want to say so much about that.
Yeah. So I do agree with Ryan. Like, your running back room does create a pretty big dent in your lineup.
Yep.
But I'm just looking at it like you guys said, yeah, Deebo Samuel is going to have a better week, definitely. But the only thing that's a little worrisome about that is that there are talks of them, like, Jimmy Garoppolo saying that he's open for trades. What if that ends up happening and Trey Lance ends up not being the good quarterback that he's supposed to be? Do you think that'll drop the value of Deebo a little bit?
It definitely drops the value of Deebo, but there's one thing to note is that, it was a torrential downpour game, which there's no fantasy player is going to be good in that, but like I have to start Deebo. But he got like 8 carries on the ground and like 8 targets out of the air. So if a player touches the ball 16 times, not even you don't even have to touch it. You're like is getting 16 opportunities per game for a receiver. It's inevitable that they're going to do well in fantasy. You can talk about injury if you want when they're touching the ball that much, but that's like all speculation.
Yeah, that's true. And also, Deebo has like the most rushing touchdowns for a wide receiver, right?
Oh,
so you'll be getting a touchdown for that too.
Has to be.
Yeah, I don't think you should be worried about that. Just like we all know that your running back room is just a big problem right now. But.
Yeah, obviously I can't expect my defense and kicker to drop me 37 every week.
Not bank on that either.
Yeah, if they didn't do that crazy, I probably would have had a pretty poor week, if I'm being fully honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have anything else to say about my team, we can kind of hop into it, boss.
Yeah, we can move on.
Yeah, I think on a boss's team, he got his first 3 picks right. Like, if we're being honest here, DeAndre Swift, Devontae Adams, and Michael Pittman all balled out. Devontae Adams had like an unholy amount of targets. Let me see. I'm trying to find it. Yeah, he had 17 targets in the first game. That's ridiculous. And then Michael Pittman had 13 targets. And, DeAndre Swift, even when he wasn't getting the ball crazy amount, he was just so efficient. So, I think you have to give a boss props for, really hitting his first 3 picks.
Yeah, I really like, a boss was able to drop 136 and nothing happened. That's like 2 out of the realm of possibility of regularly happening.
Yeah.
Like, Lamar can definitely consistently drop 22. 25 is pretty high for a running back, but DeAndre has enough work in the passing game that if he's healthy, it can definitely happen. Devontae 25 can happen regularly. Pitt 22 can. I think Waller certainly has better games ahead. And, the other stuff a boss has is nothing crazy. So, yeah, a boss's team looks really, really nice. His team balled out this week. He did, get a lot of high-scoring matchups, like having your running back in a game where they score 35 points is really good. And, like, Devontae, I guess they didn't score a lot of touchdowns, but he was, like, force-fed the ball.
No,
for
17 targets is a ton.
Yeah, and so I think that probably comes down some. But overall, like, a Boston's team looked pretty scary going into this, but Andre is for real. We'll see how serious this injury that you mentioned is, but
yeah, I don't know how serious it is. I just because I have Jamal Williams, I get the notifications. I just saw ankle injury, DeAndre Swift. We could read it right now, probably. Yeah, he missed Wednesday's practice due to ankle injury, so it's sometimes hard to tell, how that will do. But it's not an injury he's had in the past. I don't know what his other injuries have been. I know he has been injured, but if it's not dating to something else, then it's just kind of like not something you should really worry about.
Yeah, I think a boss's team, like, he drafted pretty, like you guys said, he drafted players that can drop these consistent points like each week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we see Devontae Adams, like, even though they lost in that game, Devontae has a shit ton of target because Derek Carr and Devontae, they kind of built this relationship going into the matchup, going into like this season, and that kind of showed in the first game, in the first week, and I think we're gonna see more of that like down the line too.
Yeah, they only scored 19 points, and Devontae dropped 25. I think that's pretty impressive. Yeah, I don't know if there's really too much else to talk about on his team. His bench is pretty boring. Melvin Gordon, is, basically in a situation we thought he'd be. He's like on that 45 end of the 45-55 split between him and Javonte. So, like, I think he's still like a usable running back in case, anything happens on a boss's team that he would need to. But there's not really much else to say. Those first 3 picks are just like definitely the highlight of his team.
Yeah, I agree. I think a boss's bench, if something happens to DeAndre and this injury is serious, he is in serious trouble. Ramondre Stevenson is not what drafters thought he was. He does not have the workload people thought he was going to. And that is a disgusting committee back there and a terrible offense. And with
Mac
Melvin
Jones
Gordon,
is hurt,
right? Not that I'm aware of.
I thought he hurt his back.
Could be. I've been busy lately. I haven't even seen it. Melvin Gordon has the role that I think people expected. That offense, at least in week 1, was not what anyone was expecting it to be. The Seattle defense is not good, and the Broncos look terrible. They couldn't do anything.
Yeah. But yeah, we can move on if you guys want to.
Yeah, I'm good to move on.
Okay. We'll go to Ryan and Tate's game.
Yeah, move into mine and Tate's matchup. So a close one that ended on the missed field goal. Thought that Tate had beat me, and then what do you know? They kicked the most unreasonable field goal. They missed. I won. The trade that me and Tate made mattered. Is if we don't make that trade, I lose this matchup. So all I can say is I hope that Tate misses the playoffs by 1 game. Actually, maybe I don't hope that on you, Tate. I hope that you lose the 1 seed by 1 game. But breaking down the teams, overall, I would say the Scrub Club performed the way that we would like them to see for the most part. Kyler Murray, did about what I was expecting him to do. He's a rushing upside QB. He's talented. We'll see once COD comes out how that talent goes. But I think, when we started this fantasy football thing, the best trend was to take late round QBs. And I feel like everyone started to realize in transition now too that the rushing upside QBs that maybe you have to reach for are obviously the way to go. And so Kyler, 22 points, very nice. I think, that can be expected of him. Travis Etienne did not get quite the workload that I was expecting him to, but his 7.5 points isn't quite as bad as it looks. Trevor Lawrence overthrew him on a wide open touchdown, and then he dropped another wide open touchdown. So if he gets just one of those, and people are singing praises about Etienne this week.
Sure.
So he is definitely not the workhorse that Etienne truthers were hoping for, and that perhaps I was hoping for. But I think he's usable, which is all I really need. AJ Dillon, boom boom, 17.6. He is officially a 1B back. I think that he actually had more touches than Aaron Jones did. So I think he had more rushes. I think the things that I've been reading show that Aaron Jones played a much higher snap percentage. So Aaron Jones still is getting the work, but AJ Dillon proves to be a usable back. So I think from that, zero RB strategy appears to have worked out. And boom, boom, down on the bench, Darrell Henderson, the yin to your yang Adam. So
I hate him.
Scrub Club's, looking decent this week. Mike Williams dropped an egg. I don't think that is going to be a regular thing, but, whenever you draft Mike Williams, you expect these, up weeks, down weeks, maybe more up weeks than down weeks, but this happened to be a down one. So
I think we'll see a lot more this week, though, with Keenan out and all. Definitely, right?
And Mike always balls out against Kansas City. So I think, I don't think the 2 points out of Mike Williams is the norm. Cooper Kupp, 25. He's back to MVP Cooper Kupp ways. Travis Kelce looks like he is going to be a good guy this season. And then, not too much out on my flex and whatever, but respectable numbers. And most of the guys on my bench put up some okay numbers too. So overall, I'm feeling pretty good with the way the Scrub Club performed. I think that we still have a ceiling that could be hit. That's a lot higher. But all I can say is I'm satisfied. I'm happy with where the Scrubs are at right now.
Yeah, I like your team. With Mike Williams coming into week 2, he's gonna be seeing a lot more in 2 points. With Keenan Allen out too, and then Cooper Kupp, they only scored 10 points, and he has 25 points, dude. Think about that for a second. He will be fucking insane whenever they score a lot more points. And then on your bench, I see a guy that I really like, Tyler Boyd. T. Higgins is hurt, isn't he?
He is hurt,
Yeah.
So Tyler Boyd is the wide receiver too now there.
He's going to get a lot more than just 11 points. That's already okay enough, but he's definitely going to see more, And then Travis Kelce, of course, probably going to have one of the best season of his career. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Cooper Kupp always scores much more than 25. I mean, he did have 15 targets, and he's not going to produce much more than that on those games, even when they score a lot, he might get another touchdown, which 30, 1 points is a lot, obviously. But I don't think he's going to be dropping crazy points whenever they're not playing a team like Buffalo all the time. 25 could definitely be pretty standard. And we already knew he was consistent, and he gets those targets. Last season he had one game under 95 yards. So there's not really anything shocking there to me about Cooper Kupp. It's just kind of what you should have expected, personally. Same for Travis Kelce. He's what you expect. He obviously played really good, but that's how he's going to be when the Chiefs score 44 points. Which I guess, some people thought, there might be regression without Tyreek Hill, but clearly that's not the case. I think Andy Reid has always been a good offensive scripter. And so, Travis Kelce will still, obviously be really good. Just expectation. I think the most interesting thing is for sure your A.J. Dillon, getting all that work instead of Aaron Jones. I know I was, talking to Justin as it was happening, and Justin was quite upset. he's freaking out pretty down on his team right now. But and like the Packers didn't even play good. They were pretty abysmal. He dropped 17 points. So maybe in a game where they're finishing it off rushing, you can get maybe these points more consistently. That would be good for you. Travis Etienne missed his opportunities. That catch in the end zone. I think it's definitely notable that James Robinson got more work than him.
Sure.
Like at the end of the day, you still have to recognize that James Robinson is still going to be a significant part of that offense. And I'm not sure how effective the Jags are going to be on a week-to-week basis. But we'll see. Kyler Murray, I think he'll get better later in the season, even though like last year's kind of the opposite, kind of stepped off. Once they get D-Hop back, he's playing without who's probably his best target, if we're being honest, right? And then your Darrell Henderson, this is like a spit in my face. I hate that.
Yeah, I got really lucky. I hit 1A, 1B backs. I happened to hit both of them.
Reminds me of when a boss. What was the who's I don't remember. It was like Jerick McKinnon got hurt like immediately for the 49ers, and he had the backup, and then like one of the guys on the Seahawks got hurt, and he had the backup there too, and like just like hit like straight off the bat like all the backups.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
But
sure.
week 1, so we'll see if it continues.
Sure.
But we can move over to Tate's team, which, like I said, Tate, man, make that trade and cost yourself the dub. But I think Tate's team's pretty good, a lot better than what I think people in this Discord were giving him credit for last week. Jamar Chase had a lot of opportunities to catch more touchdowns than the one he did, which 23 is still very nice, but Jamar had the chance for an absolutely nuclear week. It just didn't work out, and so I think we're going to see the Jamar Chase of last year once again, which no one was really expecting anything different. But the same way Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins are going to win weeks for you, or Chase and Joe Burrow are going to dominate teams for Tate.
Sure.
I think.
I think Joe Burrow won't typically throw 5 interceptions on a week either.
No, yeah.
And he still put up 21 points.
Exactly, yeah. The Bengals aren't going to look the way that they started. So, yeah, I think that duo right there is going to be nasty. Mike Evans is still useful. He got a touchdown, right?
Yeah, because you remember you were complaining about the Cowboys' defense.
Yeah. So he's he's a touchdown machine. So I think Mike Evans is a good receiver for him. Jamar Chase, Darnell Mooney. I was very high on Mooney in the draft, and so seeing this week 1 is quite disappointing. But I think it falls into the torrential downpour that you were talking about. I think we see that in a dry game. Perhaps Fields is throwing better, and the Niners are a really tough defense. So I think you get an easier defense, dry weather. I think Mooney ends up being a better player for Tate. And I don't know that Clyde is going to drop 20 points every week, but he's showing much more use than what he's had in the past. And Tate has a pair of very good backup running back. Cordarrelle's not a backup, but less thought of running back. And then Michael Carter gets significant work too. So I think Tate's team is looking really nice. I know, this week didn't turn out the way he wanted it to, but Tate's is a team to watch out for, I would say.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Tate's team is a team to watch out for. Like you guys said, Joe Burrow, the Bengals, they're not going to have a week like this again. This guy comes off first drive, throws an interception. Or was it an interception or a fumble? I don't know. It was a turnover anyways. But he's not going to have a week like this again. They're going to have better weeks. And with better weeks, they're going to have – Jamar Chase is going to have even better numbers. That's what's scary about this team. And of course, we didn't really expect the Browns to come out like swinging like they did. That's why Tate ended up getting 0 points for his defense. But they did come out swinging, and that's what happened. And I think Tate's got like one of the better benches I've seen so far. With like he's got actual starting players on their NFL teams on his bench, which is better than most of the people have. Most of every other members have. So yeah, I think Tate's team down the line is going to be very good, but he's going to regret this first week though because of the missed field goal and the trade that he did with Ryan.
The way the South FFL seeding with the playoffs always ends up, this is a divisional game. This is going to matter. This is definitely going to matter. So you can go to what you were going to say, Adam.
Oh, no, I was just agreeing. The division games are always important. You do all those calculations. You look there, you're like, dude, I need to win this division game. And I'll tell you this. I have scripted, like, kind of the schedules intentionally where you have a decent amount of division games early and a decent amount of division games late. So you're really not everybody has a chance, even if they start off the season bad, to redeem themselves later on. And so like I wouldn't worry too much about it because there are I don't know, that's something I kind of scripted, I guess, so that people could have a chance to, if their team starts off horribly and it takes them a couple weeks to get back, they're not just screwed out of the playoffs because of that. I like to give a chance. But yeah, I think some of the things on Tate's team, like Clyde, I'm not a Clyde believer. Braxton was like, you guys doubted me on Clyde. I still don't believe in him. They scored 44 points. Obviously, he's going to play good. And I think, Arizona is... I think, a lot of people talked about them definitely regressing this year and not being as good. But, other than that, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are obviously going to be super good together, whenever they're playing. And, more so his starting lineup, it's the bench points is what really sticks out to me. Michael Carter being the starter, is quite nice. Even if it is the Jets, that shows, in my personal opinion, that even though they drafted another running back, that they still have faith in Michael Carter to be, a good go-to for them. And I think that's, important. And then Cordarrelle Patterson, I know a lot of people weren't sure what to think about him, but he got 22 carries last week against the Saints. And the Saints are typically a pretty solid defense. And I think that was pretty interesting as a whole, was watching the Falcons somehow compete against the Saints, and I thought they were going to get destroyed, if I'm being honest. Mm-hmm. I don't know if anybody else thought that, but I'm assuming almost everybody thought that the Saints would destroy the Falcons. So I thought that was pretty interesting that there was, potential value on that team. Drake London played super good. And so, they might not be the wasteland that people thought they were going to be.
No, they're really not. I think the Falcons got some nice weapons, Cordarrelle Patterson. We don't know if he's going to be like this every season, but this season he's definitely showing that he's one of the better ones that can do it. And he's so explosive too, so I feel like whenever he gets the touch on the ball, he's just going to be getting some points for you. And then, of course, Drake London and Kyle Pitts, they got some weapons.
Yeah. And then Darnell Mooney, I guess is the other thing I feel like I should talk about. The torrential downpour gets mentioned. And I don't know if you guys watched that game at all, but when you say it and then when you were actually watching it, dude, you literally couldn't see anything on the screen. In the pregame practice, the quarterbacks, I don't even know if those quarterbacks were throwing because I wasn't paying that much attention. But they were struggling to throw the ball. The ball was slipping out of their hands when they would go to throw it. You were any receiver in that game, you shouldn't have expected anything out of. You'd be foolish too. So, I think this is not a market at all. I think the other thing we should mention is that week 1 is not always an accurate indicator of the entirety of the season. Oftentimes it's actually a very poor indicator. So I think, I don't know, take everything with a grain of salt that is said based on these week 1 statistics.
Yeah, I agree. Week 1, you can't tell much, but we still got to have our overreaction.
Oh yeah, if you have a better idea who's a starter, I think Daryl Henderson clearly starting over Cam Akers is very important, and I don't think that just changes, by week 4.
Well, no, especially not with Akers out here dodging blocks.
Dude, there was one play. You did it so many times, and it's the same play played over and over again.
Hey, all it takes in the NFL is one.
Yeah, I don't know. That was just outrageous to me.
Yeah, man, he just let him through the mat, bro. It's funny.
I don't know. I don't know enough about football to actually make an analysis on that play.
I know enough that he should not let his QB get hit. I know that.
True. That is true. Yeah.
Okay. I'll move on to the next one. I think it's your matchup, Leah.
All right. Let's see. Let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, so for my matchup, I scored 106 points and 0.85. I beat Michael, who scored 56.75. I'm pretty happy with my team's performance, especially with Keenan Allen not playing the second half, and he really only got the points for me in the first quarter, I think. Yeah.
Well, he was hurt the second. Or you said Keenan Allen?
He was hurt. Yeah, Keenan Allen. He was hurt somewhere in the second quarter, and he didn't play at all in the second half. Yeah. But he still dropped an okay amount of points for a wide receiver. And I'm not really worried about that because I do feel like I have a pretty good wide receivers backup. I have obviously Alan Lazard, who he was out this week 1, and he should be coming back here pretty soon. I don't know when, but he should be coming back pretty here soon. And then Justin Herbert, of course. Dervin James said that he's due for an MVP season. So I'm really excited to see how he's going to be able to handle that down the line during the season, for the rest of the season. And then Christian McCaffrey, he only scored 13 points. I'm not really worried about that. I feel like they will have better games. He'll have better games. He'll have more touches than he got. He'll have a better game than he had the first week. And then Nick Chubb, obviously he's a really good, talented running back. Only dropped 14 points, but I don't know. I'm still very high on Chubb, even though Kareem Hunt outscored him this week. I still have faith in my boy. And then I have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's supposed to be a solid wide receiver this second week too. So I'm excited to see that. And in the first week, he didn't do bad at all. In that game against the Eagles that he had 16 points, which is really good for a wide receiver,
That's 12 targets.
And he had a lot of targets too. You're right. And then next person is Dawson Knox. That's what I'm worried about. I was really high on this guy. And actually, I'm actually a little more happy that I picked Dawson Knox over the other guy I was going to pick. I was actually going to pick Cole Kmet, who did absolutely nothing this week. Absolutely nothing. Those are the two guys I was targeting, and they both turned out to be bad. But Dawson Knox is a little better because he got a target, whatever. So I guess that's better for me, and I'm happy about that. And then probably an hour or two before the game all the games actually started, I switch out my flex for Kadarius Toney. I put him in instead of Alan Lazard, which he was a game time decision and he was hurt. And so that was my flex play, and it wasn't the one that I could have gotten better points with other players. But anyways, I beat Michael with him anyways. And then the Bills defense, of course, dropped 18 points, which I was really happy with. I know I texted Ryan this too. I was like, yeah, I'm so fucking happy I got the Bills defense. I was the first one to pick the defense, and I got the Bills defense. I was very happy about that. Of course, Matt Gay is the kicker. Don't have to talk about that. My bench, I'm okay with because the players are hurt. I know what I'm picking up. I know exactly why I picked these players. I picked up Jamison Williams because I know that he's going to come back and he's going to come back as a good player, as a good wide receiver. And I wanted to cover my ass too because, like, Amon-Ra St. Brown, there is their wide receiver, but Jamison Williams, when he comes back, Amon-Ra St. Brown is gonna be like, we don't know if he's gonna get less receptions or not. So I picked up Jamison Williams, before anybody else could get him in this league, and that's the reason why I got him from the waivers. And then George Pickens, I'm not too sure, man, what's going on with the Steelers team. I didn't really watch that game because me and Ryan were at the Chargers game, obviously. And then and then I'm a little worried about Jacoby Myers now that you guys are saying that Mac Jones might be hurt. So I don't know about that. So I'll have to see
I'll have to see
how
once
I
we
want to
see.
play this week too. Yeah, but that was my team. So what did you guys think about my first week?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think your worries about Amon-Ra St. Brown are needless. I think he's going to be the clear-cut number one receiver on that team. He's really good, and
you realize what a man this man Jameson is, Adam.
Yeah, but
yeah, Jameson is nasty,
dude, he's already clear-cut number one, in my personal opinion. So while I guess Jared Goff tries to make that connection with Jameson Williams even stronger. I mean, you can't deny him that he caught 12. He got 12 targets. He caught 8 of them. And a touchdown. He's been super good, and
the sun god, bro.
yeah, he may lose a little bit whenever Jameson Williams comes back. Like they're not scoring 35 points every single week, but also you're not going to have a week where their running backs are scoring 3 touchdowns. That's just not how it's going to be every single time. Which honestly, it's the Lions, so they'll probably score less points than 35 pretty often.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Christian McCaffrey will probably be fine. I think he had don't quote me on this, but when I was watching the game, he had 3 carries in the first half. It was ridiculously bad. He only had 10 carries the whole game.
Carries, yeah.
And he wasn't that efficient. I guess it's the Baker Mayfield effect. But with how bad the situation was this week and how poorly they played, majority of the game until Baker started getting some deep balls done. 13.7 is not that bad. I don't think you should be worried about that. And then I think Nick Chubb is also still the guy in Cleveland. Even though Kareem Hunt scored more points, there's a reason why they haven't paid Kareem Hunt, and he wanted to leave because they weren't paying him. They're not fully committed to Kareem. So I still think Nick's their guy. And then that's really it. I don't really know how to analyze your bench too much, just because they weren't that great. I don't think Kenneth Gainwell scores that many points every week. They're just running back by committee, so that's not even a consistent play. But yeah, that's all I gotta say.
I'll say, Leo, I like your team less this week than I like your team last week. I like your team last week. The Justin Herbert Keenan stack, that's going to be nasty. Keenan should only miss this week. I think he'll be back by the next game.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that.
A pretty nice little 3-game stretch there. So I think those two are going to go absurd for you. I think Amon-Ra will be good all year. I think CMC is going to have much better days ahead. But what I would be worried about if I was you is your flex position. Because I don't know that you really have any viable flex option at the moment. I think Kadarius Toney only saw 13% of snaps, which is horrid. I was super high on Toney in the draft. I thought he was going to be a stud, but he's not even getting touches. He's wide receiver 6 right now. So, I know Allen Lazard was a scratch, but I don't really believe in when he comes back. McKissick is once Brian Robinson's back, definitely RB3. Like Jacoby Myers is in a bad offense. Pickens is probably not seeing the field this year until maybe the very end. And then once Jameson comes back, he'll be good. Then you're telling me you're starting 2 Detroit receivers each week? Oh, man.
No, I'm not starting both of them. Obviously not, but I just wanted to keep him so nobody else can hurt me with him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And, I like keeping him in case no one else can hurt you. It could be a trade piece or, if something happens to Amon-Ra, whatever. But what my point is that the way I see it, you just don't have a flex right now. And so
I agree.
Worries me about your team a lot. Last week when we were analyzing your team, like I said, I was super high on Tony. I thought he was going to be a beast in your flex. Now this week we're looking at your team and you're missing a flex. And so I gotta say stock down on time to Khalil for me.
I would say a positive for Allen Lazard is that the receivers for Green Bay played really poorly this week. And Aaron Rodgers is clearly not happy with them. So, maybe he gets more opportunities because of that. I don't know. I'm sure you guys saw Christian Watson drop that first play, like, Hail Mary. Not really a Hail Mary, but...
it was a beautiful...
Yeah, it was a beautiful
pass. Dime.
I actually dropped Christian Watson from my team, like, before week 1 even started because I needed a tight end for George Kittle. And then I thought he was about to catch it and score a touchdown. My heart was about to sink.
Yeah.
But then he drops it, and I feel a little better now.
Yeah. I mean, someone's going to have to emerge in that offense, and so it could be Lazard. If it does end up being Lazard, then your team's back to being nasty.
Mm-hmm.
For now, I see him as like there's still
you still have speculation.
True speculation. And Christian McCaffrey himself, if he's true Christian McCaffrey, that enough right there is enough to win weeks for you. Even if you don't have a flex, he'll score enough to be your RB1 and your flex, and then the rest of your team's pretty solid. So still one of the better teams in the league. I would just perhaps address the flex position, or at least start thinking about it.
That's what I'm thinking too. Like you guys said, whenever Allen was started, that's what I'm hoping for. Like when he comes back, it'll be nasty, and then I wouldn't have to worry about that. And then like my wide receiver 2 position for when one of the guys go out on a bye week, that he could be the guy. So that's what I'm definitely hoping for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys want to move on to Michael's team, my opponent for week 1?
Yeah, they're pretty bad, but...
Yeah, so for week 1, obviously Aaron Rodgers, like you said, he wasn't very happy with his performance and the receivers in particular, like the young ones that he said they need to grow. So he's not happy with that. That's why he dropped only 5 points in fantasy for Michael. And then for Eckler, I just think that, I don't know, he'll have better weeks, definitely, right? He'll have better weeks. And then for Mike Davis, of course, he had to switch him out for J.K. Dobbins because he was hurt. And I was really hoping that he wouldn't do that because in the off chance that Michael's team end up like scoring a crazy amount of number, and if J.K. Dobbins happens to be if J.K. Dobbins happens to be the one that could help me like win this week, that would have been better. But either way, he switched him out for Mike Davis and he only dropped 1 point. So I'm pretty happy about that too. And then for CeeDee Lamb, they lost Dak. I don't know what's going to go down, like how the wide receiver situation is going to go down for that. And then DJ Moore, of course, Baker Mayfield. They're going through that Baker Mayfield situation, like you said. So I don't know if he's going to do better in the next couple of weeks. So, yeah. And then Dalton Schultz, of course, same thing with CeeDee Lamb. We don't know the air situation, like with the QB situation and all, because Dak's out. And I don't think Davis Mills is the guy. I don't think Davis Mills is the guy for the Texans. So Brandon Cooks, clear wide receiver 1. But like I said, I'm not sure if Davis Mills is the guy. So I'm not very high on him either.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I think Brandon Cooks at this point is probably QB proof. That's my personal opinion. He's been pretty effective so long. He's moved around a lot of teams, but fantasy he's always proven to be somewhat viable. I think it's bad for sure that my dad has 2 Cowboys players that are receiving, within CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz. Dak, I've heard, will be out 8 weeks. Jerry Jones somehow thinks it could only be 4. I'm not sure where that comes in, but that's from Dr. Jerry Jones. I think once J.K. Dobbins comes back, might have a much better RB2 situation. But I will say, I thought Devin Singletary was actually pretty good with the opportunities he got on that Thursday night game. Like, I don't know if you guys watched that game very much.
Yeah.
But he was pretty solid when he was getting the ball, and James Cook fumbled on his first play, which I don't think they'll hold that against him too much, honestly. But Devin Singletary, when he got the opportunity, he looked good. That was my personal opinion. And then Aaron Rodgers, Austin Eckler, don't worry about those. They'll get it together. But yeah, this is also an auto-drafted team, which sucks for him. And so Dad's actually going to have to take advantage of the waiver wire, which he didn't put in any claims this week. Or he didn't stack claims. But he had the number 1 priority because of 56 points. So he didn't put in any claims. So you're actually going to have to do that if you want to win off a team that is auto-drafted, honestly.
Yeah, I gotta say, this is the team that needs to hit the emergency button because it's not looking good. I really liked the team last week, and then this week, probably I think the worst in the league the way it currently stands. As long as Dak is out, CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz, you have to start them based on their talent, but they're
not a keeper rush guy.
Yeah, they're not gonna drop you very many points. I was super high on DJ Moore in the draft. I thought having the best QB he's ever played with was gonna make him a beast this season, potentially a wide receiver 1. But no, apparently Baker, despite all of Robbie Anderson's trash talk about him, likes to throw to Robbie Anderson instead. He doesn't like to throw to DJ Moore. So maybe better days are ahead for DJ Moore, but it just doesn't seem like the chemistry is there for him and Baker. And yeah, I think the Chargers' rush offense is going to look a lot better than what it did on Sunday because it looked really, really bad. So Eckler's going to do better, but man, bye weeks are going to be hard for Dad's team. I think regular weeks are going to be hard for his team as well, even once Aaron Rodgers and Eckler start going, because he's essentially hasn't lost his wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, and tight end 1, but they're nowhere near what drafted them at, nowhere near their draft capital, and they're not going to hit it either. So yeah, that's all I got to say. Dad's got to do some serious work on the waiver. He might have to trade some pieces, really blow the team up. It's going to take a lot of managerial work to work with this squad if he wants it to be good.
Yeah, I agree. He also has Justin Fields and Trey Lance. It's kind of funny. But I reckon we can move on from here to Colin and Braxton's game. And so, we're going to Colin's team first, I guess. Obviously, I was not as high on Colin's team as you guys were. And, I was wrong for that. Whatever. His team is definitely really good. He hit his first 2 picks for sure. Well, it was Josh Allen his third.
He would have had to be 3 or 4.
Yeah, so
Josh
Allen.
So third.
Okay, so I mean, Josh Allen's like a given, if I'm being honest. But yeah, he hit his first 3 picks for certain. I mean, in a week when the Bengals were really bad, Joe Mixon did get 27 carries, which is crazy. But he also got 7 receptions. And I think that was one of the things that people questioned about Joe Mixon is his, usage in the passing game. I would say 7 receptions is pretty freaking good.
Not bad.
Yeah, you'd say that. Lenny, I feel like he's just, you expect him to be good. I wanted him on the way back around if I could have got him. But yeah, he played super good. He only got 2 receptions, but he'll always be involved in the pass game. He got 21 carries. So like having guys on your team that are gonna get the ball, that's always what you want. And so yeah, those are really good. Michael Thomas, for a while I was thinking was a mistake, but then in like the fourth quarter, he turned it on and caught 2 touchdowns. He got 2 touchdowns. I think in the fourth quarter, he had like no targets or anything like the first 3 quarters. But yeah, he really came up when they needed him the most, and like everybody knows Michael Thomas has the talent. It was just a matter if he's gonna be used like that. I think Carson Wentz, his usage was actually pretty good. They were playing the Jags. He threw like 4 touchdowns. So that's good for Terry McLaurin. Juju only got 9 points on a week when they scored 44 points. So I think there could be some consistency issues there. But Colin has DeAndre Hopkins on his bench, so he should be coming up, late season. Which, dude, that makes Colin's team actually pretty unholy. Like, they're gonna be really good.
And he can even move Michael Thomas into his wide receiver and play James Robinson.
That's what I was about to look. I was looking at was James Robinson is the RB1 on that team, but he could also play Michael Thomas, Terry McLaurin, and DeAndre Hopkins. Like, Colin has good play, like a good starting lineup, and he also has good depth to his team. So Colin has a team that definitely has the potential to go all the way, I think.
Yeah, I don't need to say much more than what you guys said, and this is what I was saying last week. I loved Colin's team last week. It was one of my favorite coming out the draft. I wasn't super high on Mixon in the draft. I know they have a much better offensive line. I don't see why I wouldn't have been, but he's still good. Colin's team, like you said, is very nice. It has depth. I think this is the best team in the league right now. He's able to take a hit if he needs to. A player of his can go down, and he can still have a good squad, which is really oftentimes what it takes to win a ship. So nothing needs to be said about Colin's team. It's nasty. I don't think I have him on my schedule soon. I'll have him eventually, obviously, but not looking forward to it whenever I do have to play Colin.
Yeah, Colin's team is solid. Like, I like his team. I was just telling me and Ryan were talking during the Chargers game. Like, we were looking at the scoreboards for, just checking up on how everybody's team's doing, and then we see this team fucking popping off, and it's Colin's team. His team is nasty, and then once DeAndre Hopkins comes back, that'll boost Colin's team even more. And he's got really, really good bench and flex or depth too. So yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we move on from that on to Braxton's team, and I think Braxton's team is actually really, really freaking good too. I mean, he has 3 guys that, based off week 1, are 3 of the top 5 running backs, right? And Kareem Hunt, Saquon Barkley, and Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, Kareem Hunt is not going to keep up the level of production, but with the way the teams use Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley, they're definitely going to put up a lot of points every single week. So that's really good. Obviously, there's always going to be questions about Saquon Barkley and health and whatnot, and if he can keep it up. But he was super good. And I got it rubbed in my face a little bit, I'll be honest. And I think with the Russell Wilson Cortland Sutton stack, I think it's good. I think the Broncos are going to have to actually show some faith in Russell Wilson, though, right? Because, I'm sure everybody saw that end of the game that actually won Ryan, his fantasy matchup, was that Brandon McManus 64-yard kick at the end, in which they had 50 seconds on the clock and 4th and 5, and decided to go for a 64-yard field goal instead of trying to get 5 yards with your, $200 million quarterback, which I think is a little bit concerning. It just made no sense at all. I think Mark Andrews probably plays, a little better in the upcoming weeks. And yeah, I feel like that's really all you got to say about the team. Julio was actually pretty good. He was used a lot against Dallas. His usage was a lot higher than I thought it would be, so, he might be a somewhat viable option.
Yeah, I think Julio's a sleeper.
Yeah.
He's just really good. And then this year, I think a lot of people are having like Saquon Barkley back in the elite, like one of the elite running back talks, So Braxton definitely hit that this year. And yeah, his team looks good. Jonathan Taylor obviously is Jonathan Taylor. Even though they tied with the Texans, he dropped 25 points, and it's JT. He's going to get even more later during the season too. Yeah, so I think Braxton's team is good. He's got a good bench. He's got good depth. I don't really have much to say about Braxton's team besides their kicker. His kicker only dropped 1 point this week. That's it.
Yeah, his kid got hurt.
Did he get hurt?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, Braxton Tech, because Braxton is like super anti-kicker, and of course his kicker gets hurt, which I thought was kind of funny.
This guy.
Yeah, so all I'll say about Braxton's team is, his running back room is going to be terrifying. There's going to be 1 week where 25 and 30 is already pretty crazy, but there's going to be 1 week this year, just like how Justin had with Najee and JT last year,
and Leonard.
where and Taylor both dropped like 40 points, and Braxton's team's going to go crazy. Those two, it was like what I was telling you in the offseason, and Brian Dable was going to come in there, make that a good offense. They finally invested in that offensive line, and so what do you know? Saquon Barkley is back to beast again. JT's a no-brainer. I think Sutton is going to have much better days than 9.2. I think that'll be better. Braxton's team's very, very good. I don't consider it quite on Collins' level because I think Colin has the running backs and the receivers. Not 100% sold on Braxton's receivers just yet, but Braxton is another team I consider a strong contender. Those running backs are terrifying. There's always one team I feel like that gets the 3 running back stack right, and then they're dominating teams with the 3 running backs.
Yeah, he also has a tight end. He has what people consider top 2 tight end, which I think is pretty notable.
That too. I think Mark Andrews is gonna score closer to 20 points a lot of weeks than scoring closer to 7, what he did this week. So Braxton's team's very good as well. I think he has the potential to really go on some big stretches, some streaks. Right?
Yeah. You guys want to move on to the next one?
Yeah. So,
Christian and the McCafricans.
All right. Alan.
African Americans. So I'll start with all I do is win, since it's just on the left side. Picked up the dub as well. So I feel like if you score over 110 points, then it's all right. Your team is looking pretty nice.
Oh, mine scored 116.
Exactly. Yeah, I think your team is nice. It's just top heavy.
Kick your defense, baby. Kick your defense.
Christian's team, looking pretty good. Jalen Hurts, he might not be a fantastic real life quarterback, but he's a fantasy football stud. He's going to drop points and big points every single week. AJ Brown is shown that he's also going to be a top receiver. I think he'll be in the contention for wide receiver 1 this year, like the wide receiver 1. I think he's a dark horse for it.
Yeah,
but
13 targets.
I think he could be in the contention for it. So I think that Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown stack that Christian has should be respected with a lot of those top wide receiver QB stacks that are going to be pretty nasty. Javonte looking very talented. He was splitting the work a little bit more than what I would have liked to see if I was a Javonte owner, and that offense wasn't looking like anyone was expecting it to, so that's a little worrisome. But Dalvin Cook is still nasty, so I think that's good for Christian's team. Deontay Johnson, he's a beast. He's had some crazy catches, but offense isn't going to score a lot of points this year, and so I think because of that, he's not going to either. I guess when you get down to Christian's bench, it's a little worrisome. Jahan Dotson is a beast, so I guess that can be a nice person for Christian to rotate out the flex as long as Carson Wentz continues to ball out. But I wouldn't count on Dontrell Hilliard getting 20 points every week. And I guess he has Drake London and Rashad Penny too, both of which look like they could be viable flexes. So Christian's team all in all, I think they had a pretty solid week. A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts being the highlight that I think are really going to win a lot of weeks for him. I'd like to see, maybe something out of that Denver offense as a fantasy person, not as a Chargers fan.
Yeah. I actually thought his bench was pretty decent. Drake London was really good in that game. I don't know if you watched it all. But he was solid. Rashad Penny, I thought he was playing pretty good early on. And he definitely got the word. 12 carries, 60 yards. I feel like that's pretty solid. But I don't really trust that offense. I know they beat Denver, but I don't think there's going to be much consistency to that. But when you look at the actual starting lineup, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown stack is going to be very net. It's kind of like a theme this year, don't you think? So many teams have a stack between their quarterback and their receiver 1. Like, there's a ton of teams that have that. But, I think Javonte, in a week when, Denver was struggling to move the ball, still played really well. He fumbled at the goal line. If he didn't do that, it very well could have been a 20-point game for him. Dalvin, for some reason they weren't playing him for like a couple drives in the middle of the game. I didn't really understand it. But, the Minnesota offense is going to be really good. So I think Dalvin has, some more big games like you expect from Dalvin for sure. But maybe they're trying to make sure he doesn't, get hurt or anything like that because he's had injury problems in the past. So maybe limit his work a little more, but keep him effective. But yeah, I think Christian's team might be a little top heavy from that though, if I'm being completely honest, because DK I just don't see being that good with Geno throwing to him. Zach Ertz, I guess he is still pretty good, but he's getting old. But yeah, I feel like Christian has like a pretty decent bench, top heavy team. I think like somewhat goes well together though. So yeah, Christian's got a pretty solid team.
Yeah, top heavy team, obviously, like you guys said. And then I'm also not sold on Geno Smith. So I agree with you on DK. With DK not getting the points that he's supposed to get, obviously because of Geno. And then I like Christian's bench. I was actually during the Denver and Seahawks game, I don't know why I thought this, but I thought nobody had Rashad Penny. So I went to the waiver to look for him, and of course he's on Christian's team. So I was really bummed out by that. But I really like him. I really like his bench, the Christian's bench. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Really, nothing to add other than that.
All right, move over to Alan's team then. Alan's team, to Alan when you're listening this, and the sky is not falling the way that you think it is. If everyone else watching this could listen to the group text, you would think Allen's team, everyone tore their ACL. Man, I still like Allen. I'll tell you guys that. He doesn't have a QB. Well, I guess he picked up Carson Wentz, so that's his QB now. Wentz actually looked decent, but, team's not bad. Like, Najee, he's exactly what everyone knew he was going to be going into this year. He's not efficient because that offensive line is terrible. He's going to get a million touches, which is eventually going to result in good weeks. He's not getting passing down work because Trubisky doesn't check down, so he's losing that. He's not going to be the same Najee as last year, but he's still going to be a decent back. I think 10 points is like a pretty consistent. Najee will get that, which is not too bad. It's not what you want out of your first round pick, but it's not that bad. Well, I guess maybe no. He took Najee in the first. Sanders, I don't think drops 17 every week, but he's shown that he can actually be a viable fantasy running back. Christian Allen's receiving core is good. Stephon Diggs had a very good game. He is the number one receiver in what could potentially be the best offense in the NFL, putting him at contention for the wide receiver one, which instantly makes your team good. Like I said last week, I'm Team Judy in the Judy versus Sutton battle. Looks like Russ might be as well. And in a game where that offense wasn't even good, Judy got 18 points. So I think Judy is going to be a good player for Allen. I think Pitts is going to do better than 2.9. Man, with Hunter Renfrow, Bryce Callahan had that man in clamps, and Derek Carr was getting sacked every single play. Hunter Renfrow is going to do better as well. So Allen, I know the Breece Hall thing feels bad, and losing Dak feels bad, but this team is not one of the best teams in the league. It's not a top team, but man, it's a fixable team, and it's not a team that I don't think Allen's team's that bad. I think he's had a hiccup. It's an early hiccup, and there's time to fix it. That's what I got to say about Allen's team.
Yeah, I definitely think Allen acts like the sky's falling down. I don't know why he wants to get rid of Najee so much, because when he was talking to us today, he said that there's I don't know why you take, if you didn't absolutely love the player, I don't know why you would take him with your first overall pick. He said there was no better value there. There was he's in talks with Kareem Hunt and stuff right now. Kareem Hunt is taking the 4th round. Why not say there's definitely guys that I still think were better than Najee at 7. But, he's still a good running back. I think the injury thing scares Allen, that he hurt his foot, but they said it wasn't very severe, so I feel like it's a needless worry. I don't think Miles Sanders is scoring 17.5 every week, I'll be honest. I'm not a believer in Miles Sanders. I think he's a good running back. I'm not a believer in committees. So there's that. Stephon Diggs is obviously going to always be a monster. I think Jerry Jeudy, it's still 1A, 1A on that team. He's not a clear cut over Cortland Sutton. He caught a 67-yard touchdown, which makes up for a lot of those fantasy points. They're probably pretty similar in targets. He's got the really big play of the week. I think Kyle Pitts has better days than what he put up. I don't think Allen's team is great, but, I feel like he could revive it, but, losing Dak definitely is pretty bad, but, Dak will be back later. Try to get some wins in the meantime and hope he can, help your team out when he comes back.
Yeah, I agree. Stephon Diggs on his team is the monster, right now at the moment. And then he's in like Ryan said, one of the best offense, maybe the best offense in the entire league. Yeah, in the entire league. So that's going to get him a lot of points. But then we look at his quarterback. Obviously, losing Dak is not ideal for him. I know he was very upset about that because as soon as he got down, Alan said in the chat that he was very unhappy about that. And then Najee, like you guys said, if you're not gonna be sold on this player, then why would you get him with your first pick? I still don't understand that. And we have been talking about this for a while, even before the draft. Like how Najee Harris is not going to be the Najee Harris that we see the last year. He might have the potential to be like there or to get there, but I'm just not sold on that. Like I'm not sold on the idea that he will get there eventually. So I'm not big on that on Najee. Kyle Pitts is gonna have better weeks for sure. Hunter Renfro, yeah. Bryce Callahan played really really good football in week 1 and locked up Hunter Renfro. He only limited him to a few targets. That's it. And he picked him off he picked off Derek Carr on one of the targets to Hunter Renfro, I think, too. So yeah, I think Allen's team took a pretty big hit on the quarterback situation. I think he's trying to get rid of Najee. I don't know if anybody would end up, trading for him though. But yeah, that's all I have to say about Allen's team, man. It just sucks to lose your starting QB, and it's not really much you can do.
Yeah,
Right.
I will say it's awful coincidental. Alan and Justin both didn't show up for the pod. Makes me feel like we got the Micah Parsons situation going on here.
Yeah, how convenient. And two
Yeah.
that took some L's, I guess.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I just feel like we're dealing with Micah Parsons on Undisputed right now.
Exactly.
Damn.
Mike, I never imagined it would take just 1 week. I thought at least 3 or 4 losses. And then we're done.
Well,
It was,
if you want to take over our Mud Bowl of the week, Leo,
yeah.
go ahead. This is definitely the Mud
The
Bowl.
Mud Bowl of the week. Are you sure?
I'll give it the Mud Bowl of the week. That's for certain.
Okay.
It's sloppy. Little piglets
Yeah.
rolling around out here.
Mhm.
I'm gonna start off with Urban's team because he's on my left. I like Urban's team, even though they didn't score as much as I thought they would this week 1. I still like Urban's team.
They're super hurt, Leo.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. So Patrick Mahomes, obviously Patrick Mahomes, he's a Patrick Mahomes that we know. He did come out and say that he has different wide receivers that he doesn't have a clear wide receiver, and he still dropped 38 points. Yeah, so that's very attractive for a team, for a quarterback to drop 38 points in your first week, and you don't even know who your receivers are. You're just throwing it to, whoever, whichever receiver that you can find.
I wouldn't say Travis Kelce's whoever.
Yeah, well, I mean, Travis Kelce is a clear, receiver, but he's a tight end, and well, I guess that's the guy that's going to get you the points at the end of the day. So yeah, you're right. And then Derrick Henry, he's going to have better games, of course. He's not going to be, limited to only 8 points. He's going to have that Derrick Henry form, I'm sure. I don't know, though, because I don't really watch Titans football that much. I don't know how their O-line situation is at the moment. But yeah, I can just say that I'm sure Derrick Henry is probably going to have better weeks. And then Elijah Mitchell, isn't he hurt? Didn't he get hurt?
Elijah Mitchell's hurt. He's hurt through week 4, or is it 4 weeks?
It's 8.
Is it 8?
Long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Double check for us.
I know Ryan and I talked about this too because, like I said, we were looking at through different teams, in week 1 during the matchups, and Ryan said that Urban's team is really good. Like his starting lineup is good.
2 months. It's just 2, so 8 weeks.
Damn, that's a lot of weeks. Ryan said that his starting team is good. He has depth in the wide receivers, but he absolutely has no backup running backs, and that's a little worrisome if you're Urban, because I don't know if there are good running backs at the moment on the waiver claim because waivers I didn't really look. Yeah, I didn't think so. So yeah, Urban's either gonna have to do some trades or he's gonna have to be leaving that spot empty. And then Tyreek Hill, did you guys see that tour clip of him trying to chug the ball down the field to Hill? and he ended up only getting like 5 yards out of the throw. So I mean, if the Dolphins end up using Tyreek Hill the way they used Deebo Samuel was with like the short passes and letting him run a little more, I think he could definitely see more like than just 14 points. And of course, T. Higgins is hurt. I don't know who Ehrman's going to be replacing him with. Then T.J. Hawkinson, I think he's a good tight end. At the end of the day, I think he's still going to be a viable option for like a viable tight end for Ehrman. And then I don't know. That's all. That's all I can really say about Ehrman. I don't know. I don't watch like I didn't watch any of the other games besides those ones. I guess.
Yeah. I think the injuries are pretty severe, and especially to Ehrman's team because he doesn't have a backup or running back.
No, not at all.
That is, and if Derrick Henry's not playing so hot, that could be problematic, But he is like a top pick for a reason, You have expectation.
And then you have to think about Derrick Henry going on a bye week too.
Yeah,
that.
He'll have he's gonna start picking some guys up. But Patrick Mahomes, may be able to carry Ehrman through some wins. You're not gonna have people dropping 60 against you every week, but goodbye till then. Rashad Bateman was really good. I think people were hot on him, so I would say Rashad Bateman's probably his wide receiver too. I would not put any faith in Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson is notorious for having a big game and then just dropping off for weeks. So you can play him and hope he gets you a couple bombs on those weeks, but he's notorious for having like one or two big plays and then just disappearing. Which I'm pretty sure he caught like a massive touchdown from. Like he had 5 catches on 8 targets, but yeah, he had a 75-yard touchdown that was wide open in the fourth quarter. So if he doesn't get that wide open 75-yard touchdown, that's what a 14 less. He would have had a 4.7 point week. He just has some plays like that sometimes, and I wouldn't put too much stock in it. If I was Ehrman, I'd be pretty worried and trying to make some changes of him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, now I'm not looking at it. I mean, I like Ehrman's team, like coming into week 1, but then now I'm thinking about it at the end of week 1 where everybody's hurt. Yeah, I'm just looking at that.
Tyreek Hill's fine. I think Tyreek Hill's fine. I think he'll be really good.
I mean, yeah, they're fine, but like his wide receiver 2, his running back 2, which he doesn't have a backup for.
Yeah,
that could be very like worrisome for me.
Yeah,
and for
Ehrman, this is the same way I see Dad's team. The team I really liked last week, that this week they need to be hitting the emergency button because this is disaster. Now, I hate, dude, last year Ehrman drafted a nasty team and it got plagued by injuries. I want to see one of these Ehrman drafted squads really reach its potential because I think they have it. He just doesn't draft any backups for him ever, so then they suffer some injuries and that's it. But, like you guys said, there's no running backs on the waiver.
Yeah, they're all on Braxton's bench.
They're all on Braxton's bench. He's going to have to get just really lucky or make some trades. But even then, like, I'm in the camp that Tyreek is going to be a good pick. If Higgins isn't out for too long, then, like, Tyreek, Higgins, and Bateman is a pretty good wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 flex.
Higgins only has a concussion, so it's
so then he'll be back soon. I think it's a pretty good flex, but it's not good enough to be 0 RB. Like he's gonna have to have some points being dropped at those RB positions at both of them, especially if Derrick Henry is not the Derrick Henry of old this year. And so I don't, Pat is gonna drop points every week, but I wouldn't bank on 40 or even 30. I wouldn't count on that. I would count in the 20s. And so I really, really liked Ehrman's team last week. It was one of my favorites. And now this week, I can't even look at it. I'm sorry, Ehrman. It's not great.
Damn. Yeah. So that brings us to the last team in this Mud Bowl, for my matchup of the week, and that's Justin's team. Bro, I don't know. I don't know, man. Justin's team could end up being in the Emily Bowl this year. I really think so. Because looking at it, bro, like we said, we don't know like the situation with the Green Bay Packers and the running back situation. They said that they have a 1A, 1B type of situation, and we see that AJ Dillon this week dropped a hella ton more points than Aaron Jones. You know, so I would be worried if I was just in that regard. And then Gabe Davis, good wide receiver, but they still have Stephon Diggs, who's the clear wide receiver one there. I don't know if he's going to drop 16 weeks. If Gabe Davis is going to drop 16 points for Justin every week. So yeah, and then Allen Robinson, he didn't get as many targets as we thought that he would get, and he's only limited to 1.7 points this week, which is really bad for a wide receiver. And then Cole Kmet, the other guy I was targeting, had 0 points. Not the ideal for Justin at all. And I know we talked about this too, like as an entire group, about David Montgomery and how we think that he's not going to live up to his full potential this season. And we kind of have seen that. I mean, granted, it was just a downpouring game, but still, I'm still not sold on David Montgomery as well, at the Bears. And then Tom Brady, I think Tom Brady's going to have better weeks than this week. But yeah, and then Jalen Waddle is definitely going to be, I think he can put him in a wide receiver too, if I'm being honest, because I think Jalen Waddle is going to be a solid receiver. And of course, he can always switch out Antonio Gibson for his flex. But I don't know what Justin's gonna do to his team. But yeah, that's all I have to say, man. It's just I would be worried if I was Justin.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think Justin's team there might be some overreactions to it a little bit. I think Tom Brady scores more than 12 points typically. Cowboys pass rush in the red zone was really good against him. Micah Parsons was going off. And he just couldn't get TDs. Alvin Kamara, he didn't really get much opportunities this week. I think there's weeks where he scores more than 6 points. Aaron Jones, that's a tough situation because A.J. Dillon was getting more. So that could likely lead to some consistency issues. I don't think Gabe Davis scores 16 every single week either. I think Justin can play Jalen Waddle at his 2 over Allen Robinson. I know he's excited about him, but it doesn't really see. I don't know why Jalen Waddle is like a 3rd or 4th round pick, isn't he? He's Justin's 4th round pick. I don't know why you don't play your 4th overall pick.
Told Justin to play him.
I know you did.
Play Jalen Waddle with no brainer. That's not even what I said. Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, so that I don't understand why anybody not playing their 4th overall pick unless they were hurt or something. But maybe Justin's gonna run into some of the Abbas issues we've seen in the past, and to any of the people who are don't know what I'm referring to is. Boss is a notorious tinker who will mess up his lineup when he could have scored a lot more points. It's a tale's old as time. It's the Ruxin of the league. Is Justin our new Ruxin? Who tinkers and doesn't play the right players and is very frustrated when you have a bunch of players on your bench who could have helped your team win. We'll just have to see.
So that's my thought on Justin's team. I think his team's going to be still not in the camp that Justin's team is very good. I think the Aaron Jones situation is very frightening. I think Alvin has better weeks ahead than this. But I'm not big on David Montgomery. I don't think Gabriel Davis keeps this up. I like the players that he has on his bench. I think the issue that Justin has is kind of like what you said, Adam, is all the guys he has can have decent weeks. You know, you can make the case for most of them, like, hey, this guy could have a week. But they're going to be a lot of up and down guys, and so I think Justin's going to find himself a lot this week or this season. You know, setting a lineup, and then the dudes on his bench get the points, and then he tinkers it the next week, and it's like he can never get it right. I think that. So really, Justin doesn't have a clear-cut starting lineup, which is always frightening. But even so, I think I'm still not even high on the potential ceiling for this team anyway. Alvin can pop off, and it has pop-off potential, but I just don't think he has a clear-cut wide receiver one, which is really necessary, I think, unless you have like the Braxton running back situation or the Colin running back situation, which is not what Justin has on his team.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
When you hit the 3 run back, someone's got to hit, someone's got to miss. Last year I had Saquon Barkley and Chris Carson. I was the guy that missed. It happens. All right, you can't always be the hitter. All right, it's just how it goes sometimes. Sometimes you strike out twice.
The carton's got to have some rotten eggs in them.
Exactly. And that's just the risk you gotta take.
But yeah, so nice little week 1 breakdown. Do you guys want to make really rapid, quick picks for week 2? We haven't done too much.
We're about an hour and a half in, so I think we don't have to do too much analysis on it. We've gone over the teams a lot.
No, we don't need any analysis. I think just like peek and pick. All right.
Yeah, so it's me and Dad on the first one.
Yeah.
I'm taking me, obviously.
I
gotta pull my computer.
Yeah, I think your team would end up being better, Adam. Yeah, I pick Adam's team for sure.
Yeah, I have to go Adam's team here. Well, I have to go Adam's team here. Without, like I said, with no Dak, I think CD and Dalton Schultz are going to be so handicapped. I think I'm going to pick your team.
Okay. Next up, we got Tate and Justin.
Ooh, Tate and Justin.
I honestly like Tate's team a little better.
Mine's still loading. Yeah, I like Joe Burrow in a big game back against Dallas. I think they bounced back from a big game against Pittsburgh. Although I don't know, I don't think James Conner and Clyde put up big points for Tate. Outside of James Jamar and Joe Burrow, his team's not looking great this week.
I'll be honest, I'm taking Justin.
I take Justin. I know I was just ripping on his team. As long as Justin can hit his lineup right, he has the better matchups this week.
Yeah, he's Antonio Gibson and you got Gabe Davis and Jalen Waddle. I think I'll put my faith in it. I think the Cowboys' defense, the pass rush, overwhelms Joe Burrow. I don't think we're dealing with Joe Shiesty this year.
That's true. That is true, though.
I'm putting it on the table. All right.
I think Bengals about to go nutty.
We'll see what happens next week. I'll be on here. Next week I'll be gone like Micah Parsons. All right.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. We got Ermin and a boss on the next one. I'm taking a boss. I don't even have to look. That's an easy just for me. Just nice know.
Yeah, I'm taking a boss too, man.
Yeah, a boss has all the Raiders players against the Arizona horrific secondary that just got all those points dropped on them by the Chiefs. So I think Devontae, Darren Waller, are in for a big game. He has Melvin
Yeah.
Gordon against Houston, Lamar against Miami. Gotta go with Boss here.
Ermin did pick up Kenyon Drake, by the way, so that's his RB2 right now. So
Okay.
I'm picking up Boss.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I'm picking a
easy.
Boss, but I'm picking a Boss for sure because I think for Arizona, isn't JJ Watt out too for Arizona?
I don't know what his situation's like.
So like I feel like
But
Josh Jacobs could get him some points.
Yeah, I'm not even questioning. It's a Boss's team easily. Braxton Allens. This is another easy one for me. I'll be honest. I'm taking Braxton.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say.
Plus just a better roster. I gotta go Braxton.
Dude, he has. They're playing. Denver's playing Houston.
Dude, he has Denver against Houston, Jonathan Taylor against Jacksonville, Barkley against Carolina,
Kareem against the Jets. Dude, his team is gonna go off this week. It could be one of the highest scoring teams. It could be the highest scoring team of the week.
The first ever 200.
I'll put a bold claim out there. Highest scoring team of the week will be Braxton's this week.
See it.
Making
I'll
these bold
go with
predictions.
Braxton.
We have the most interesting one here now.
All right, Christian and Colin.
Oh, okay. Might as well say that for last then.
You know?
I actually have to think about this one.
I actually like Collins' team better for this.
A high-scoring game between Minnesota and Philadelphia, I think, puts a lot of points on the board for Christian for Christian. Plus Javonte Williams against Houston. I'm going with Christian over Colin.
I'm gonna go with Colin also. I just like Colin's team too much.
Yeah, I think Collins' team is a little better.
Yeah. And then we got you two in here.
Scrubs and
Ooh, I'm going with my team, bro.
Well, you have to.
No
You gotta
question
back
about
your boy
that. I
up.
have to. Gotta back my boys up, bro.
I have to pick my squad. I think Leo's only hope of beating me is Christian McCaffrey going nuclear because J. Herb isn't dropping stupid points against the Chiefs without it funneling through Mike Williams. And so I feel like in the quarterback wide receiver combo, you'd rather have the wide receiver than the quarterback. I have Darrell Henderson against Atlanta. It's a good matchup. Cooper Kupp against Atlanta. Bro, that's an 80 bomb right there. What do you mean? That man alone's about to beat your team.
I'll be honest, Leo.
Maybe.
If you had Keenan Allen, I'd actually have to put a little more thought into it. But you're playing without Keenan.
Yeah, I understand.
And
Whatever,
so you got
man.
Allen Lazard and Jacoby Myers, and I can't roll with that. I gotta go with Ryan's team this week.
All right. So we got our predictions and our analysis for this week.
Yeah.
You guys have any closing remarks you want to make before we end this podcast? All right, let's just do the outro real quick. All right.
All right. I don't know what the outro is.
Yeah, I guess if we don't have any other closing remarks, I guess thank you guys for watching and tune in next week for your weekly analysis.
I'll see if I'm still here by
I'll
then.
see you guys.
Chargers 1-0.
Yeah, about to be 2-0, bro.
Cowboys about to be 0-2, baby.